Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another stream. I hope we're all doing good. If you check it out, we've got a brand spanking new face cam for today. Lots of fun things to talk about. I guess I'll just quickly go get my coffee. We'll do the intro and we'll see what we're going to do. Now, I'm not, as you can see from the top, I'm not too interested in doing more Halloween. I don't think people have really been interested in watching Halloween. Halloween's been alright to play on my end because I've not been playing very much, and so it's been nice to spend the stream time to get the progress done. But since we're basically finished with everything, except maybe like making the backpack in the Mystic Forge or whatever, I guess let's just go back to POF, where there's lots of fun things going on. I got another bag this week. And I want to like go get some there's like 3 mastery points I don't have still, and there's some other cool news as well in the broader MMO community. Someone's already asked me about it. That's the WoW Classic launch, which I don't know, I've got some thoughts on. So yeah, should be fun. Hope to see you guys very soon. Yeah, gotta catch them all. Yeah, right, it's a good face cam. I like it a lot. Have you seen any of the Guild Wars 2 streams? It's been amazing so far. Some of the devs have ended up having their hair shaved off by Jebro. Really? No, I haven't seen any of that. Is that seriously a thing? Wow. No. Oh, you guys will have to tell me about that, and we'll have to have a look. All right. Anyway, quick little intro, and I'll see you guys very soon. That is cool. Wow. right. Hello, everybody. All right, let's turn that on as well. How's it going, guys? Sorry that took a little while there. Just making sure that I was going through the motions and getting the main stuff done. So yeah, I hope you guys are all having a good one. Like I said in the title, if nobody caught me a second ago, just before the beginning of this stream, we're going to be back to Path of Fire for today. And that should be pretty cool. I just had a big Windows update. Now, those will remember that the last time I had a big Windows update, it was really goddamn annoying with all the audio. I hate the way they just force that crap on you. Do you know what? It had me locked out of my PC for about half an hour. God, that sounds ridiculous, isn't it? What first world problem? But it was really annoying. Half an hour? Ugh, come on, man. Anyway, so we'll see whether it's broken things and done horribleness. I've already noticed that while copying very large files, I cannot scroll in other Windows Explorer windows while it's going on, which is really frustrating because I quite often do copy large files. But anyway, oh god, what a boring topic. Hope you guys are all doing good. I'm at the Lily of the Ellen right now, as you can see here. And what I'm going to do... I'm wearing a new outfit as well, so check this out. This is one of the Halloween outfits that they added. I think... did I talk about this on the last stream? Somebody was wearing it on the last stream. I think it looks really good on Asura, and apparently it looks really good on Chart as well. I'm not quite sure how much had happened by the last... by Monday. But a lot indeed has happened. I just want to say hello to everyone first, so let's see how we're going. Hey WP, why do you hate Halloween sad face? That's not a serious question, is it? People are already trolling me in the first couple of seconds. The Twitch sarcasm has already begun. Your art is amazing. That's not my art. That was a ReaderNet concept art. Let's quickly go back up to the face cam here. We'll put audio on in a second. Potato conspiracy theories. What? You can make it not update. Right, I know, but... yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be one of those guys, though, that's constantly... I feel like I should keep on top of the updates and not stay stuck in the past. Because it's a slippery slope to be that, to then blinking, and all of a sudden you're one of these dicks that sits about saying, Windows ME is the perfect Windows. 10 years later, you know. I don't know. Maybe that's just bad memories of specific types of people from when I worked in IT. But so I feel like just keep going with the updates, stay with the industry as it progresses. And so on. Not that the most companies are very agile with their operating systems, to be honest. I think the NHS is still on Windows XP, for example, and it's not an accident. ASMR said film. Oh yeah, hello everybody, welcome. Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. We can do more. So yeah, so earlier in the intro, people said that the Guild Wars 2 is streaming. Now I knew Guild Wars 2 was streaming for 24 hours. Apparently, they're still doing it right now. If we can get some big viewership, I will happily host them. And I wouldn't be surprised, hashtag humblebrag, let's have a look here, if maybe we can substantially improve their viewership. Oh, no, they're not live right now. What? I'm looking here and I don't see them live, guys. Unless they're streaming somewhere else. Christ, there's a lot of audio in the background. I didn't realize people talked in the Lily of the Ellen that much. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't. Apparently, Jebro's been shaving their heads and stuff. That's crazy. Did I miss anything else? I mean, to be honest with you, there's been a lot of live streams that I've not been on top of since Path of Fire came out. I haven't watched. I think they did one about story, and I haven't done that. And I think they did. I mean, I think genuinely, it's been what, 6 weeks now since Path of Fire came out. The only one I've watched since the expansion release is the Griffin one, I think. Maybe there's something else. I've noticed I'm incredibly forgetful. On this weekend's streams, I said that I'd only streamed the Clock Tower. Or well, I only played the Clock Tower on stream. And, you know, I got that one shot on it. But that was complete bollocks. I have played it off stream. In fact, I've played it off stream and did it in a video. 2 videos now. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, scrolling back down. When's the test series coming? So Zapez, I've talked about this a few times already now. I don't know whether it will come. I might give it the axe. So there's that. Wabisake said, WP, I know you don't play League of Legends anymore, but I want to know how you feel about SKT losing the World's Final. Listen, man, I don't play it, and I never followed the pro scene. And not that there was much of one. Well, there was certainly. It was, you know, it was growing back when I used to play it. It was a long time ago. If anybody uses Discord, our Discords, you might have noticed this week, in one of the conversations, I was talking about branding. And I showed people a screenshot of, what year was it? 2012, maybe? Maybe 2011? Maybe 2010? No, it definitely wasn't 2010. I think it was 2012, shortly before Guild Wars 2 released, when I had 1,000 subscribers. I showed people a screenshot of my YouTube channel, and it was back when YouTube was under the old format. Everything looked very different, and I showed my original brand that was just like this ridiculously weird thing that just looks very odd. But it was a full screenshot of my entire desktop, and you know, I wasn't quite so savvy with things like that. Getting correctly cropping or just printing the web page and so forth, and it was my entire desktop, and it showed all the apps that I ran back then. It showed, you know, the operating system environment, and one of the things that I had set up was League of Legends, and I had I think a Nocturne build guide on one of my tabs as I looked at the Wood and Potatoes channel as it got its 1,000th subscriber. But yeah. In Extra Life? Sorry, what is this? Yeah, I know they're streaming for Extra Life, but what's the purpose of your comment? Hey WP, I'm a teenager now. Get ready for hormonal fuel teen angst. Also, I know everything now. Damn, son. Damn. I may have to shadow ban you on that one. I can't have teenagers watching me. Since the Void Jump patch, did you see the Griffin Fly bug? No, tell me about it, Royal. What's the Griffin Fly bug? That sounds pretty interesting. How long did it take you to finish Clock Tower for the first time? Hours and hours and hours. But I maintain that I was in a bugged instance slash account state slash overly laggy thing where the truth was it was a grind to get to the top and to get to the clock face at the end. It was, and it was hard. That only took me like an hour or so. I was playing it with one of my friends at the time, a guy who also had a YouTube channel, Magic Mike, and it took us both, I can't quite remember how long it took him, but we were doing a video of it, and we roughly got to the end, right? Within an hour or so, I think, maybe an hour and a half, which was a lot, and it was hard. But then, like, the next several hours of grinding on it was not being able to jump into the clock face. Despite knowing the timing and everything, I'd jump, and I'd hit a loading screen. I'd jump, and he did it, and he got in. But I'd jump, and I'd hit a loading screen. I'd jump and hit a loading screen. Knowing what I know about Guild Wars 2 and the way it handles latency now, I wonder if it was just a lag thing. But that was the main problem for ages. And I believe, if I remember correctly, eventually they pushed a patch. I got kicked out of the game, relaunched the client, and once the client had been relaunched, I got in like first time. So I actually think that my struggles, my quite serious struggles with the clock tower, were more of a latency thing or something. I don't know. Do I want kids someday? Weird question, says Not Derogar. I currently have absolutely no ambition whatsoever to ever create some spawn of mine. I'm not sure I'd be a good father. I don't particularly fantasize. Well, I reckon it would be fun to have a little version of you that you teach about the world, and I don't know. I guess on some level I am arrogant enough to believe I'd be an alright parent. And, you know, I've identified the deficiencies in my own parenting. What I liked about how I was parented, what I didn't like about how I was parented. And I reckon I'd be a cool dad. But that's probably deeply flawed and terrible to believe about oneself. And just pragmatically, who the hell... I'm sorry, I've said this many times on stream. I know I've got a lot of parents who watch me, all right? And this is no judgment to any parents out there. You guys do your thing. And at the end of the day, there's some nobility in it, I actually think, genuinely. But why would I want to be a parent? I'm kind of one of these guys that believes most parents, it's like an unplanned thing that they then roll with. You know, there's that classic scenario of people don't want it, and then it gets thrown at them, and they're like, oh, it could be all right, and then they go with it, and that's basically it. I think it would be, yeah, to choose to be a parent, you'd have to be in a very stable place in your life, very stable career, very stable love life, very stable everything, really. And I don't, you know, I don't see myself in that position, right? Certainly not with this job, Christ. So, yeah. In each map, there's a map edge, not an invisible wall. It makes you move and fall slower, so if you use the Griffin space spam, you can reach max height of the game. Oh, that. Yeah, I know about that. I did that against the Wizard's Tower, actually, because you can break... There's 2 layers of invisible wall to try and get to the Wizard's Tower, and I got through one, and I was doing it against the other. So, yeah. LMAO, how long has this stream been on for? I've been listening to the last stream, which I missed when I suddenly realised there's another one. Not very long. We're just starting. That's why we're not even in game right now. We're just sort of chilling out here. How long is the potato cam? As long as the whole Pokemon intro. You know, I didn't actually check. You know, so this was submitted by Kritzloff, who I had a discussion with about... how would I even describe it? The things that we should talk about and joke about on stream and, you know, alienating audience and stuff. What's tasteful, what's tasteless. It was an alright chat. A bit accusatory at the start, but I think it went alright. But they made a cool face cam. And I didn't even check the length of it. I didn't even check the audio. Not that I run audio on these anyway. But someone could have had horrible audio there where they scream, WP is a... And then, you know, a big terrible swear or something. I'm going to be on SEA servers today. Oh, yeah, those totally exist, right? Those totally exist. So, interesting news for MMOs this week. Or not even this week. Yesterday, I think they announced it. And it is really curious to me. Who knows what I'm going to talk about? What was the big MMO news this week? Who knows what I'm going to talk about? Let's see in chat. WoW expansion. No, not the expansion. Fuck the expansion. Who gives a shit about the expansion? Vanilla WoW. WoW Classic. Yeah, look, you guys all know. Jesus, look at that chat spam. Yeah. So, for people that don't know, Blizzard announced a new expansion for World of Warcraft, and I don't follow World of Warcraft, and I don't care about World of Warcraft, and I don't care about World of Warcraft expansion, so I know dick all about that, and I don't want to talk about that. I don't care. But at the same time, they also announced something that I think they've officially called it WoW Classic, right? So, a bit of background here. There's this game called RuneScape that has actually, over its lifetime, like 250 million registered accounts. World of Warcraft, over its lifetime, has like these stats, you know, will have been fluffed. But World of Warcraft has like 125 million accounts, and RuneScape's kind of like double that. I'm not saying that RuneScape is the better MMO and blah blah blah. RuneScape though is an interesting MMO in that it's still relevant today, very 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 relevant today, as is WoW. But one of the reasons it is because a few years back, they identified that updates to RuneScape had changed it substantially. It changed the way that its marketplaces work, the way that its graphics were presented, the way that its combat worked, and all kinds of stuff, right? So, the creators of RuneScape, Jagex, did something really amazing, which I've talked about on streams before. They said, okay, we appreciate the game's very different, and a lot of you are nostalgic for that 2007 experience, which, by the way, is when I used to play RuneScape. So I know very much what the original 2007 RuneScape was like. That was when I used to play it. And they said, look, we know, in like 2015, they said, we know that you like 2007, so we're going to launch it again, and we're going to call it Oldscape. I think that's what they called it. And so you had this amazing, really weird thing. It's genuinely super, super, super interesting. Where they basically have like an alternate reality version of RuneScape going out, where they frequently update it and they treat it like a real regular game, but it's based on 2007 infrastructure and systems and so forth. And so like you've got regular RuneScape, which is X and has this update and this update and this type, and then you've got 2007 Scape, which is, or Oldscape, which is like a what if scenario. They go back in time to the old way that it used to work, and then there's new updates as though the years 2009, 2010, 2011 went completely differently. So it's like fascinating. I think that's amazing. People can call me out in chat if I'm wrong, because I'd like to learn about where I am wrong, but this is what I understand it to be like. And anyway, it was a massive success. Really, really, really successful. Everybody loved it. And I think they even did further, and RuneScape does all kinds of different things. There's like that dead man mode in it and all kinds of stuff, which I don't really follow. But for whatever reason, through these developments, through these bold things that they've done and interesting ideas, RuneScape, you know, it does really well on Twitch. It's got lots of followers. RuneScape streamers can, you know, become quite well known. There's like a notorious one at the moment who ended up doing like a pornographic stream and stuff, which was also fucking crazy and bizarre and made me shudder and hate the signs of what this industry is, which I guess we won't go into. But there's you know, there's a lot of interesting stuff out there with that. So that's one half of the story. The other half of the story is that for years, over on the World of Warcraft side of things, people have felt the same. They've missed the old 40-man raids, as far as I understand. Now, unlike RuneScape, I never played Vanilla WoW. Let me just start there, right? So, but people have missed the old way of doing things. They've missed the grindier way of doing things. They've missed leveling individual weapons, I think was one of the things. They've missed a world without the dungeon finder and instantly teleporting around. They've missed the way that servers used to feel, I believe. So, like, everyone knew everyone on their server and stuff. And they're nostalgic about it. They're nostalgic about kind of stricter systems and grindier implementation of things and less quality of life. But it was the game that they originally played. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in chat right now, Guild Wars fans, who also played WoW many years ago and are nostalgic about the old way that WoW is. So this is a question that comes up with Guild Wars all the time. I talk about this all the time till I'm blue in the face. It's boring to me at this point. For 7 years, I've been talking about this crap. Well, not 7 years, maybe like 5 years. It's true for Guild Wars as well. People wax poetically about how good Guild Wars 1 was. And, you know, even I look back at some of those old systems. And most designers, all right, they'll stand by their changes to their franchise. ArenaNet will stand by all the convenience and quality of life and easy access stuff that they put into Guild Wars 2. And similarly, Blizzard stand by that with World of Warcraft. Most developers will stand by the changes to their franchise, and they'll think, no, the communities think they want to go back to Guild Wars 1 style stuff. They want to go back to classic WoW, but they don't really. And so this was actually said at one of the BlizzCons, I think, a few years back. Somebody in the World of Warcraft community stood up and said to the stage, hey, would you ever release old versions of the game? Can you do that for us? And sorry, I'm trying to go to the third map, and I'm for some reason going to the second. I keep making this mistake when I'm being a bit brain dead. So someone actually asked Blizzard this, and one of the developers very bluntly, and according to his own beliefs, turned to thousands of people and said, yeah, you think you want this, but you don't. It wouldn't be good. Do you remember how terrible it was without a dungeon finder? Do you remember those terrible old bugs? Now, the bug comment has merits, but the funny thing about this developer's statement was it seemed to have completely flown in the face of why people want the classic stuff. Is because they don't like the convenience and the quality, or they think they don't like the convenience and the dungeon finder and the blah, 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 blah. So they got ridiculed big time, and it's like a famous quote. They got ridiculed for it. And, you know, it came across as incredibly arrogant. Yeah, and it does come across a bit arrogant, really. But, I mean, to some extent, a person has to stand by what they believe with the game that they're developing, right? And a little bit of arrogance is going to be tied up in that. But it's famous, right? You think you want it, but you don't. Somebody presuming to know. And it's funny. So why this sounds so arrogant, right, is because this is a game developer presuming to know what is fun to you over your own opinion. And people hate this, and they think, oh, that's terrible. How dare he tell me what I like versus what I don't like? How dare he doesn't know me. And the amazing thing, I want to just pause this story for a second here. I mean, that's this is the internet in a nutshell, to get outraged by something like that. And maybe there's some merit in this specific discussion, but if you actually think about it, what is the point of a game designer? Why is that a profession? Why is that something people can be good at? Why is that something you could be paid for? Why is that something that you go to university to learn about? Why are game designers things, right? It's because it's not obvious what is fun versus what is not fun. It's because what is intuitively fun is not necessarily what is genuinely fun. It is because you actually have to look a little bit deeper and you have to test out what is fun and you have to learn about these things. And there are theories and there are, you know, case studies to look at. And there, so, you know, it's actually not, I would actually go on the record and say it's not that arrogant for a successful game developer to go on a stage and say, you think you want this, but you don't. That's his life. That's his profession. That's his job. He's educated and he's trained to do that. It's in his best interest to understand that. And if you accept that game developers are a thing at all, you have to understand that maybe at some level there is such a thing as an expert in this subject that knows a bit more than you. And it's kind of arrogant, actually, for all these people to be so offended by that, I think, because it's like, come on. Yes, it sounds a bit weird for him to say you think you want this, but you don't. But maybe he's right. Do you know what? Maybe he's right. Anyway, so that's my little addendum. That's my pause, and I think that's interesting to look at right there. But nonetheless, you go to any World of Warcraft community, you defend this guy at this panel, then you're a social pariah. You're going to be vilified, right? So don't do that. Now, now that was one thing. Now there's another side to this story as well. More recently, I believe it really blew up about 1.5 years ago. I don't know the word, and I'm really sorry. Nostradamus? I don't know. Private server for World of Warcraft. I'm just going to call it NOS, right? That was all about bringing back vanilla. And it actually got really popular. So vanilla is the word we use to describe the state that this game launched at. It's a term that appears in modding circles and so on, right? So vanilla WoW private server, really successful. And Blizzard, so here we got Jack, and the climate right now, Blizzard knows people have asked for it. They've gone on the record before as saying you don't really want it, so just trust us. It would be crap. There'd be old bugs and stuff back. Jagex, though, have just been very successful with OSRS, and there's this private server. Blizzard pull the private server. They pull it, and they look like the mean corporate douchebags that are shitting on everyone else's fun. Bit like when Nintendo pulls down some, you know, amazing Sonic fan project or multiplayer Super Mario 64 thing or whatever. You know, there's been loads of some Metroid remake and so on. And they pull it, and everybody hates them for it. And this week, I guess we realized why they pulled it, genuinely, is because they want to do it for themselves. And so they just announced this week that Classic WoW is going to be a thing. Officially supported, officially released, vanilla World of Warcraft. And there you go. That's the whole story. That's the news. And I call it bigger MMO news for two reasons. One, it's WoW, right, which is sort of the daddy of it all. So, like it or lump it, that's sort of the way it is. And if there's news with them, it's kind of like, it reminds me when we had the Snap election going on. And I was watching, who was it? I was watching an interview with, I think it was like Tim Farron or something, right? So a leader of his party at the time. And they just no, it was Nicola Sturgeon. And she was like giving some big speech, and then they immediately just cut her off to swap to Theresa May, who was in the middle of a different statement, but she was the more important one. It's kind of a similar thing here, right? If you're into MMOs, whether you don't like WoW or not, you kind of have to look at WoW, because WoW is the big daddy, and we're always going to cut the news to them instantly, right? So anyway, so I say that, but also because I actually think this is a really interesting thing for the scene, and I think just as how Jagex took a risk with OSRS, I think, you know, if Blizzard is successful with Classic WoW, I think that could mean some things. Does it mean anything for ArenaNet? So let's put our little Guild Wars twist on this, because I know most people just post billions of Resident Sloopers and ZZZZZ unless I'm talking about Guild Wars. So let's talk about Guild Wars with that. What do you guys think this... Let's imagine... Let's go live in a world where Classic WoW is super successful. And if you look anywhere on the internet, everyone's pissing their pants with excitement. There are some skeptics who think, yeah, it's just nostalgia and everyone will be bored and they won't like it and blah, blah, blah. There are some skeptics. But a lot of other people are pissing their pants with excitement. So let's just pretend that those guys are right for a second and that it's going to be a huge success. And how it accomplishes that we can talk about later. What do you think about... Because as I started with this, in the Guild Wars community, we get a lot of this. We get a lot of people saying Guild Wars 1 is better. I myself openly admit that if they released a Guild Wars 3 that was a baby between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, So sort of a slightly more MMO focused, but nonetheless CORPG style game. I've always openly admitted I really like that, and that's sort of going back to the sort of classic days. And what about with Guild Wars 2? Here's another thing that I've always talked about loving. Those demos, those alpha demos, with energy potions and all of that other stuff. What do you guys actually think? I mean, I'm not suggesting either of these will actually happen, but I'm just throwing you some food for thought on chat here. What do you guys think? Do you think this could affect Guild Wars 2 development on any level? Do you think ArenaNet have any chance of looking at successful developments here and thinking, yeah, we want a slice of this pie X years down the line? And we could be talking 4 or 5 years. You go, I mean. Do you think there's any chance? I'll let Twitch speak before I speak on this. Let's see what people say. I want to become the branded, says Royal. So he's talking about an old beta. Not a little bit later than the convention demos, but he's talking about an old beta thing. I'm on a healing build, by the way. If you're wondering why these harpies are taking about 1 million years to kill, it's because of that. So everybody's saying no, zero chance, no chance, and I think no point. Just bring old LA playable in an instance. Rain Pumpkin, what are you talking about? They do that in the story. I mean, is it really that important that it's more accessible beyond the story if it's going to be an instance anyway? I don't know, dude. That's a really arbitrary change to me. Split the devs, no bad idea. I'd much prefer actual updates to the engine, to nostalgia pandering. Yeah, so you guys are all... Oh, wait, what was that? I just saw someone say something. Let's turn to Guild Wars 1 with attribute refund points. Well, that would be a big... That's kind of out of scope. That's turning Guild Wars 2 into Guild Wars 1, which I don't think is. But yeah, you guys, I agree with you guys. I don't think that it can really happen with this game. I think from what I've seen of this game, the development of this game, the splitting of resources that they've already got, I don't see it. And on some levels that makes me sad, but I think also it will be kind of smart. So I don't know, even if this is wildly successful for Classic WoW, I think there's a big difference between Guild Wars and RuneScape plus WoW, and that's that they kind of have such a large captive audience already, they could play around with stuff like that. So beyond anything else, I think already that immediately just restricts whether this can be a thing. But yeah, so I don't know whether I've ever been here, by the way. We are going to go to some new areas in Path of Fire today as soon as we finish talking about this. This is really cool. Or is this just the back of the Order of Shadows base and it's closed because of this event going on? That's interesting. Well, the really annoying thing here... Oh, unless I can go into that portal. No, they're not going to let me in. The really annoying thing here is this field is full of forged, and I'm not going to be able to mount up to get out for a long time. So we'll just walk this way. So, yeah, I don't really see it for Guild Wars. I'm not too sure about that. So what do you guys think about on the World of Warcraft side, though? Type a 1 in chat if you're excited about Classic WoW and you're looking forward to reliving your nostalgia and you think it will be successful. Okay. Type a 2 if you're pessimistic, not interested, and you think it's a stupid idea, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we had a moment there and we didn't quite get it. So let's see what the general balance is. And type a 3 if you think that it'd be shit for Guild Wars but great for WoW. And in that situation, I want to hear why. If you're a 3, why? Someone said a 1, never played it before. Right, okay, so then that gets... So then we come to me. So, someone says, I've never played it before. Listen, guys. I kind of want to play it. I kind of want to play it, not because I have some crazy World of Warcraft nostalgia. Not because I'm a big fan of Blizzard. Not because I want to fuel the Blizzard success machine. Not for any of those reasons, really. I kind of want to play it just because I think it's a really interesting initiative. And also because I missed WoW. I played it, well, I don't know. I played a little bit of vanilla WoW, maybe in like 2009 around my friend's house where I played like a minute, Tauren, I think it is, right? I played a Tauren and I got it to maybe like level 13 or something like that. And I think that was probably during like Burning Crusade maybe or something. Or, no, I think it was vanilla when I did that. I also played a tiny bit of an Undead like a long time ago. I remember being extremely excited about that, but that was when I was very young and just the prospect of MMOs was enough to get me massively erect. Oh my gosh, we had a duck. It's Uendel. Uendel, thank you. Choo choo. Does anyone else hear that? PogChamp. Thank you very much, Uendel, dudes. That's so lovely of you. Thank you. So yeah, I played a little bit of it, but I don't know anything about that game. I don't know about WoW raiding. I don't really know anything about WoW lore. I don't know anything about even the RTS side of Warcraft. Except Hearthstone. Like, I followed Hearthstone for a long time. Not recently. I followed Hearthstone for a long time, and, you know, you get drips of lore from that. And mostly I understand that game, but obviously that's a very different game. I think that just as someone who plays a lot of MMO stuff, or at least this franchise, and I've played other ones. I played Perfect World, I played MapleStory, played a bit of... I played the WildStar beta, guys. What else have I played? I've played a few things. And some very obscure Japanese MMO products. I think it'll just be interesting. No, genuinely, like, fascinating. And I'm not saying this is purely academic and dry and I don't care that much. I'm saying genuinely, I think it could be really cool. I don't know. To see just how grindy it is. But then also for this, like, weird kind of thing of, like, of what OSRS did, you know? Which became such a big phenomena. You know, if I knew that OSRS, because I was very skeptical of OSRS when that came out. If I knew that it was actually going to become such a heavy hitter, such a heavyweight, especially on places like Twitch, the day that released, it might have been actually really fun to go and play that. Like, I'm not being funny. Now, the last thing I want in the world is to be another stupid World of Warcrafty, you know, associated X, Y, and Z, you know, the personality out there. You know, I'd never... the weirdest thing in the world to imagine having shifted myself. I'm not saying I'm going to quit Guild Wars and go play WoW. That's the weirdest thing, and I would feel great shame over doing something like that. I just do not identify with that at all. But I think it'd be really interesting. So, I don't know. You might actually see... I might break my subscription fee rule, and I might actually legitimately do some streams on Classic WoW. With you guys, so it would be a wooden potatoes thing. It would be just as much motivated as WP as it would as just me as a regular gamer. So I think I might do it when it comes out. I might actually play some Classic WoW, which is the weirdest thing. So yeah, I'm trying to gauge if there's any interest for that in chat. Any suggestions for what skins I should choose from these? The Mad King's gifts? Yeah, I don't know. I've been collecting mine and not spending them either. Or did I spend one on a stream? I might have spent one on a stream. I'm not entirely sure. This is so annoying. Every time I go to Waypoint, I get attacked by something. You should. I'd watch it. I'll play through it with you, man. Well, I don't know how it would work. I don't know whether it would be pure stream. I mean, because, like, you know, people always talk about the grindiness of WoW, and I wonder, like, wouldn't that be really good to just know how vanilla WoW grindiness compares to, like, Guild Wars 2 Legendary Weapon grindiness, or Guild Wars 1 Treasure Hunting Collection, or Guild Wars 1 Guam, or any grind that I experienced in other MMOs? To date, I think the grindiest experience I ever had was essentially vanilla MapleStory, without using the cash shop. Like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours just to get to like level 30 and get to the mainland. I think that's one of the, from my memory, that's one of the grindiest things I've ever experienced. A lot of people have weird understanding of MapleStory grind because they played it later when XP got easier, or they used a lot of its cash shop. But my friends and I, we kind of went a bit nuts on that. I actually remember one of my friends saying he played it for 6 hours and he felt sick with himself for sitting in front of a PC for 6 hours in a row and he'd never do it again. And I look back at that and I'm like, what is my life? All right, let's see here. I want to look at chat. Sorry, guys, the gameplay is going to be a bit boring. I want to look at chat. Scrolling up, scrolling up. Oh my god, there's been a lot of messages. Not Derogar says you get... Just repost your message, guys, if I've missed it. Please repost it. And I'm going to go through this quick. Derogar says you get me massively erect. I'm glad. You're not missing much, to be honest. Vanilla WoW was revolutionary for its time, but now it's just backwards ass old game. Right, and that's the last thing to talk about. So what do you guys think? I want to hear. What do you think? Is it going to be a success? And I don't mean that for like some selfish reason of I want it to be a success so I can cover it. I mean, literally, do you think that it's nostalgia goggles or not? Or is there something in it? Do people know what they want? Whose side are you on? I want to know. Who's skeptical? Watch him not read any of the explanations for 3 seconds. Still Crab said, well, look, old Guild Wars content is still accessible and relevant and contains balanced enemies. Old WoW content is face roll easy and gives very little reward. Still Crab, what kind of character and gear do you play in Guild Wars 2? Are you actually telling me that you believe the personal story is balanced and relevant when you have like an elite specialization and like ascended gear and stuff? Or even exotic gear? Because I cannot be bothered to do the ascended gear discussion and how grindy and difficult it is because it's... But you really think that it's balanced and relevant? I would say it's not. So the idea then that you're saying WoW isn't makes me think that WoW is like some horrendous quagmire of just nothingness. Nosh was a number 3. I don't think Guild Wars 2 is old enough. It would basically just be taking away all the good stuff that Guild Wars 2 has. I think the more recent updates like Path of Fire and Living World Season 3 have been the best Guild Wars 2's ever had. That's a good point, man. Vanilla WoW was a memorable experience. At the time, it was so much better than everything else. For most people, it was the first time they got to experience a solid, fluid, polished 3D open world with other people. But you cannot repeat that experience playing now with more than 10 years of online gaming experience on the back, ... I agree with that. Yeah, I think back to a lot of my excitement of playing WoW, and it was that. And that was a lot of my excitement of playing Guild Wars 1 when it originally came out. WP played Scarlet Blade. I did do a video with Matt on Scarlet Blade on an obscure series I used to do called The Daily Deal. If you want to check that out, you can. That's actually live. And Matt was really funny in the start of that video as well. Ink says people place a high value on nostalgia, so we'll see. I agree. WoW was pretty grindy compared to Guild Wars 2 and current MA. I do see the start of people who are more than happy to admit it. Not in Guild Wars. In Guild Wars, you're still treated like a dunce and basically spat at if you say this. The Guild Wars community is incredibly aggressive to this. But in terms of broader MMO communities, it is not uncommon for people to openly and happily and readily admit that they enjoy grind. That they enjoy not Guild Wars style grind, which I say with air quotes, like genuine sitting there for hours and hours and hours pressing 111112, 111112, 111112, 111112, and I'm gonna trigger some incredibly inspired meta jokes from people in the Guild Wars community here. But I'm talking just like running around killing mobs that are picking daisies in the field for like 7 hours and getting a level from that, and that's exciting to them. People will openly admit that, and they won't be spat at, and they'll be treated as equals. And so there's kind of a question with WoW Classic. People are saying, yeah, I don't mind. I know it's grindy. I want the grind. So what do you think about that? Will the grind be it's to its detriment or not? Because the only people who pick up Classic WoW and even look at it are going to people who know what they're getting in for, no? So I think that and I reckon that that fact might have helped OSRS as well. So Benji asked some good questions about how they practically execute it. As far as I'm aware, Guild Wars 2 doesn't have old builds saved anywhere. And they couldn't do it without rebuilding everything. Like, it's just impossible because they weren't good enough with backups or the way that they do things. As far as I'm aware, Blizzard might be the same. RuneScape, Jagex had the advantage of just the entire thing was like backed up and saved somewhere. More simple game perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. Their practices allowed them to do it. Maybe Blizzard have to rebuild it. So that's another question. Will Classic WoW actually be Classic WoW? Apparently there was some PC Gamer article that talked about it to a certain extent. But, what are we saying here? We're going to leave all the bugs in? We're going to strip quality of life and convenience features away. Are we going to revert the graphics? I see a lot of people are asking, hey, are the new races going to be in it? Is it Classic WoW if they then also add the new races, if there's Pandaren in it, and there's... I believe Death Knight was not there in vanilla. Am I right? Right? Oh, God. This is showing my ignorance. I hope you guys are impressed when I get this stuff right. Is that classic? But there seems to be a lot of people asking it. Are they misunderstanding the point? If you're asking for new graphics and new races, is that classic? Well, let me scroll. As someone who barely has played WoW, I think you'd watch it big time. You mean enjoy it? Come on, I just want to stand somewhere and not get attacked. Please, for the love of God. Where did that worm even come from? I would say, oh, I'll just go to a waypoint and I'll be safe there. But we all know that's not true in POF. All right, Christ. Feels like running through Cantha in Guild Wars 1. You'd love to see a Guild Wars server without mounts or gliding. Yeah. Someone says, I mean, you aren't really doing anything new and interesting in Guild Wars at the moment. A break could be good. What? We just had an expansion release, and there's going to be constant living world. I don't agree with that. Plus, it's going to be like a year and a half probably until it releases. So I don't know. Teapot, Boots, Inks take on WoW Vanilla. So are other people in the area, in the scene, thinking about doing it too? It'd be cool if they made WoW Classic a buy-to-play thing. As I understand, it won't get any content updates to justify monthly subs, or will it? I mean, that's always been a thin shit excuse anyway, let's be honest. If we go down that rabbit hole, we'll realise how pathetic all of that line of reasoning is in the first place. But, maybe, yeah, maybe. Vanilla WoW would be horrible with a crowd following you because of mob tagging. Yeah, but I could play... But then you get specific servers and stuff, right? I could not announce my server, or maybe? I don't know. That's a good point. You should try getting Completionist Cape on RS3. I think we've got a humble brag here, where someone's saying, I did a grindier thing than you. I think at this point, Guild Wars 2 open world content is harder than questing. All right, I got to scroll. Ink says, what determines success? That's a great question as well. Because I saw some people in discussion forums, right? Basically saying, look, I know you guys hate waypoint sound effects, so let's walk over here. No matter what I do, there's something about the game in the background that's frustrating people. I heard someone saying... Oh, listen, I can't remember what it was that they said, but basically the phrasing implied that unless the majority of people were playing classic WoW, it wasn't, like, worth pursuing, or it wasn't a good idea. And it was an implication. It was not an outright statement. But the way they talked about it, it was as though they believed success only came if their tribe, their group, was the majority. And I read that, and I thought to myself, you know, that's really funny. I think a lot of problems with the internet and the way people treat discussion on the internet and so on, it sort of stems from that. In the world with the internet, we have to get away from this idea that you're only successful if you're in the majority. We have to. You have to. Because it really skews things in a weird way. And creates, I think, a lot of vitriol as well. But we don't have to go into that. Pretend we're sociologists. But I think that was really interesting to see. What determines success? Does it have to be bigger than regular WoW to be a success? No, of course not. But where's the bar? I think it'll be successful at the beginning due to all the people trying it out, but then it will fall down sharply. See, I've heard a lot of people saying that, since it's going to have no updates or anything else. But that's the thing. That's not a worthwhile investment, is it? For Blizz? Just do something that will have a ton of interest and then sharply fall off? Why don't they do the alternate reality style thing where they do give it updates and it just has its own branch like OSRS did? Why wouldn't Blizzard want to do that? Why are we assuming they're not going to do that? Did they go on the record and say they're not going to do that? I mean, that's one of the most fascinating things to me. He means being 20 levels over in WoW is more annoying than any dynamic scaling in Guild Wars 2. Interesting. I wonder about their motives. Is it because they're still proud of vanilla WoW, or are they just thinking of more money jangling in their products? Does that matter? If you, the consumer, are excited, does it matter? Maybe it's just me, but I feel like they're planning on WoW 2 or something like that. Releasing vanilla WoW and expansion actually finally deals with main conflict of the game, Horde versus Alliance. I feel like it's them preparing for the ground for the sign of WoW. Interesting, Big White Shogun. That's pretty interesting. Classic WoW has been successful. Why not real classic? Because there was the whole Titan project, right? They were developing a second MMO for a long time, but then they canned it because they realized it would basically just cannibalize on what they already had. And that would be a question with any kind of WoW too. Just bring back legit farming and kill off DR. Divinity's Reach? What? It will have changes. This is confirmed. Oh, apparently Night. So, B-Boy, I just saw your message. Apparently, guys, Nightbot is dead, and we're not going to get any any giveaways going. I'm really sorry about that, everybody. I will say I have a very big niche success. We've talked about this for ages, and I apologize to everyone who doesn't want the discussion to be this long. When I get through chat, we'll go and do some of the new POF stuff. But I think it's interesting, so screw you. We're going to chit-chat. I say it will be very big niche success in the WoW community and will stay on very consistent level of players. Of playing WoW was a novelty to it, like playing Edition 1 or 2 of D&D pre-WoW MMOs. Is there a squad? Yeah, I can make a squad. We're going to get some mastery points and thingy-mabobbers. If ArenaNet made a Guild Wars 3, would you prefer ignoring engine limitations, physically connected maps instead of instances with portals to each other? No, listen, Cynthian, this is a totally different subject. But what I actually think the best way to do a world map is a lot of RPGs do it. The first one that comes to mind is Final Fantasy XII. And I know not many of you will play it. But essentially, what I want you to do is look at this map and imagine that Queensdale here, you know how as we walk around Queensdale it unfogs and stuff? Don't imagine that. Imagine that Queensdale never unfogs, but in the center, there's like a little dot that represents Queensdale. And when you load into Queensdale, that's when you see this big map that unfogs. But the world map never unfogs. And Queensdale is simply represented by a little dot. And when you walk through this portal to the right of Queensdale, yes, you load into Gandaren and you get this kind of map, right? But when you scroll out, there's just like a little dot that represents these are the Gandaren fields. And what this means is you're approximating these areas. Queensdale is like roughly in this region, but the borders themselves are not perfectly well defined. This allows you to get rid of like this horrible blockiness that you get everywhere. But it also means that if the devs, in theory, 5 years from now, want to add a new Crichton map, they could add one between Gandaren and Queensdale. They could add a little dot that represents a map in this area of the world that is nonetheless a full-sized map. Or even, you know, a Path of Fire-sized Crichton map. And it's represented there. And some of you are going to say, oh no, that's not as good. But actually, I think in the long term, that's actually a much more immersive way of dealing with, where you have these ill-defined boundaries. It would make the world feel a lot bigger because it would infuse a lot of that magic and imagination. Where Kryta doesn't... Well, like when we look at Kryta in Guild Wars 2, we definitively believe that it has like 5 villages. All of Kryta has 5 villages. How do we know? Because, well, look, we can count them. There's Beetletun here, and then there's the monastery here, and there's Garenhof down here, and then there's this dock here and this dock. You know, we can add them up, and we can definitively say, yeah, there's like 12 villages in Kryta. And that makes Kryta seem pathetic and small. With that aesthetic shift that I just talked about a second ago, we can only hazard a guess as to the maximum size, right? And imagine that for the entire world. I actually think that's way smart. It's much more flexible for future development, and I actually believe it is more immersive. I think less information is way more immersive. It's also, the artistry would be more immersive as well, because you get rid of the borders everywhere. So I think that that's the kind of thing a lot of people would say, oh no, that's terrible, WP. But actually, the more I look at it, the more I like that idea, and games that do their world maps like that always feel more immersive to me. All right. Christ, there's so many messages. Watch your stream. I am watching my own stream. I'm looking at chat here. I think the correct way to do it is not how it was, but just how people remember it. Similar to how Shovel Knight is a modern take on the 8-bit platformer era. That's a good idea, John Man, but is that... I think people would rebel against that. What you're essentially saying is, why don't they release a new MMO that is based on classic influences? I think that would work, but I think doing WoW Classic that is essentially just... not the same thing at all. It's just like inspired by WoW Classic. I think that's a bad idea. Kabad says Blizzard is definitely banking on nostalgia right now. Not only WoW Classic, but that Battle for Azeroth CGI trailer to the Thears. Guild Wars needs CGI too. Yeah, people are talking about the trailers. I don't really care about the discussion today. Again, we do that so many times. Personally, no. The idea of grinding is not inviting at all, considering back then there were so many games. Nowadays, people played with lots of free time as a thing. Nowadays, though, between work and study, there are lots of single-player games I still want to play, but any kind of game. Yeah, I mean, in the Guild Wars community, you're going to find grind haters, and that's fine. If successful means profitable, then yes, WoW, vanilla WoW will be successful. Yeah, I think that's a very low bar. Because, frankly... it's Blizzard, whatever, they genuinely can put out some atrocious, abominable, bad products, but they have such a large captive audience, it will be profitable. They could bomb like 4 or 5 products in a row, and it wouldn't matter. They're, you know, like, they've got such a platform. It's like me, right? Like, I could put out a terrible, shitty video, and it will get viewership, and it won't bomb necessarily, but it doesn't mean it was it doesn't mean it was a successful video, does it, necessarily? I think the bar for success should be the growth of your company / audience. I think that's what success should look like. Growth is success, not profit. The current private WoW servers, unless to declare having made a profit is to factor in growth into it. But anyway, the current WoW private servers have 5,000 to 7,000 people, so it will be profitable. If Blizzard release a game that only gets like 5,000 people playing it, is that a successful Blizzard game? It's not really an investment. They're just using work they've done 15 years ago. That's very short-sighted, I'd say. It's an investment. It's not like one guy just comes in and on a coffee break puts WoW Classic out. They've made trailers for it, haven't they? They've marketed it. They've dedicated time for interviews and things. They've, on the development side, got a lot to implement. It is an investment. You may not believe it's a very large one, but how big of an investment you believe it is for the inner workings of their company, I think is quite presumptuous to say, no? I don't think it will have to have a large population in order to be a success. I think the monthly fee will be bundled in. I mean, I feel a bit sick considering playing it and actually playing that. Yes, StarCraft 2's gone free to play as well, right? As someone who has played a ton of WoW, if they do an alternate reality thing, I'd fucking choke. I'd choke. They mucked up the story enough, so they'd go to kill the good parts now. Don't you believe that they would have hindsight? Like OSRS have hindsight, so they can do other things and pander to both sides of their community. I say it will have a very big niche success in the WoW community and will stay on a constant level of players. Playing vanilla WoW has a novelty to it, like playing Edition 1 of D&D. Yeah. That's exactly how Final Fantasy XIV does it. What is? You didn't go further with that, Utah, and you probably said that ages ago. I'm scrolling pretty fast. Rain Pumpkin said you're forgetting about Lake Doric, north and east. No, I'm not forgetting about Lake Doric. Lake Doric is not the same as adding a map between Gendaron and Queensdale. Lake Doric is the same as adding a map here. These are or here, right? These are areas of Kryta that are for the taking. What we're talking about, the reason I said 5 years is because we can imagine Living World adding a map here, and 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 it's all filled in, Lake Region, and then a map here. It's all filled in, and now where do you go? You don't have so much real estate. It is not as flexible, right, as adding maps between. Lake Doric has nothing to do with that discussion, right? And you could say, well, practically speaking, it's going to take them so many years to fill all that in that it's, you know, it doesn't matter. And I would agree with that, but I'm just saying from a raw, pure perspective, there is more flexibility afforded to them. Don't you guys know that real mountain ranges always form in rectangles? Scroll, scroll, scroll. I didn't actually mean lore-wise, but mechanically for immersion, it's much easier having no borders blocking you from going A to B instead of going 200 meters south, then a portal 200. Well, what you're talking about is a fully open world with no mini-maps and so on. Which is a completely different infrastructure that the Guild Wars engine and developers have never really built or tangled with. Guild Wars 2 kind of marketed itself and pretended to be a fully open world. It is fully persistent as opposed to its predecessor. But these discussions used to come out all the time in 2012. People expected an Azeroth-style experience where there are no maps at all. It's just one giant fucking open seamless place. Or many MMOs do that. Guild Wars 2 was kind of tricky and deceptive. At its core, it was deceptive. It's basically just the Guild Wars 1 format again, except they made the maps massive and put a 150 player cap and hoped people wouldn't really notice. There's still loading screens. But now, many years later, with how fast we travel through these mounts and how little we care about the old content and stuff and the waypoints and so on, it's become very obvious that this is just Guild Wars 1's style of doing things, but bigger. I don't even know if this engine, the way that the servers and stuff work, we know for a fact that they couldn't release a map in Guild Wars 2 that has 1,000 players running around at once. The lag would be ridiculous. So with this combat system and all the design and stuff they have, could they really do that? I don't think so. So I think that this game just doesn't have the capacity to become that. So if they did like a Guild Wars 3 and they were going for that, it would have to be a totally different engine. And that isn't what I'd actually like. As I said, the perfect Guild Wars 3 for me is a marriage between GW1 and GW2. Like an incestual relationship between those two. D3 is nothing compared to its competitors and AERPGs. I'd agree with that. D3 is a lot like Guild Wars, I think, in that it was tainted by early release jitters. And many games. I still need to finish Heart of the Swarm, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't saying that about the villages. I also said East and West. Oh, I really came at you very aggressively, and I was wrong, and I was a dick. I know what you're talking about. So Rain Pumpkin was actually saying, you forgot about Lake Doric because there's, you know, villages and stuff up there as well. And you're right about that. I apologize for being so aggressive with my response there. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, yeah. And of course, if they add new maps here and here, we can definitively say, oh, there's more and more. So there's a little space for imagination right now in terms of like when we give specific quantities of things, yes, which prevents that from happening. But not as much imagination as there would be from doing another format for the map. That's why I said regarding engine limitations, if you'd prefer that in a perfect world, it wasn't instances, but in that open world. Itma says, I mean, World of Warcraft did some big PvP zones where there was 200 people. Yeah, but that's WoW. It's a different game. Big White Shogun says, that was me. No experience with Guild Wars before. I was sure it will be open world like Azeroth, and I was disappointed when I found out it wasn't. Though I already bought the game, so I stuck with it, and here I am today still playing. So it was a dirty marketing move, but a working one. I wouldn't buy it if I knew it wasn't fully open world. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I'd say it's dirty, but it was deceptive. If they had basically gone out and been honest and said, right, no, this is Guild Wars 1. It works the same way. It's just the maps are bigger, and instead of an 8-party limit, it's 150. And you don't have to formally party to meet people. There you go, that's Guild Wars 2. If they'd gone out and said that, I think people won't remember this, but Guild Wars 2, and in so many ways it genuinely is, so I'm not denying it. But, you know, Guild Wars 2 was like such a dramatic departure. And it's funny that one of the biggest aspects of that departure was not so, actually. What is this stream? Arse looking to some trash from Shitcraft whining? I don't know what you're talking about, Cordis, but don't leave comments like that, or I'll just get a mod to time you out and stuff, dude. You don't have to swear so much and be an open dick. B-Boy's much more forgiving with chat than I actually want him to be, so I will quite happily try and cull away the rudeness. It's not deceptive, really. The only difference is the borders. WoW still has caps and maps. No, it was deceptive. I'm going to go on and take a stance against you there. In Guild Wars Nightfall, you had a big part of the story inside another realm. What do you think if ArenaNet would implement a living... So, yeah, the Realm of Torment is another example of what I'm talking about for Guild Wars 2 map. So, there you go, guys. That's the chat about Classic WoW. And I don't know. I'm interested. I kind of want to look at it. I don't know when it will come out. I don't know how long it will be. But I kind of want to have a look at it. So, there you go. That is it. All right, let's see here. Scroll across. I had a sub. Thanks very much for the sub there. Thanks very much, guys. I haven't really been very good at keeping an eye on that stuff. But that feels pretty good. So cheers. Guild Wars 3 with a world scale of 1:1. So a DR that has as big as the current Guild Wars 2 map. So what you want is Dragon Age 2 Guild Wars version. You want an entire city game. Because obviously to do that, they're not going to be able to do anything else. I mean, I like that idea. I've talked about that before. But not with Divinity's Reach. I actually think if you're going to try and do like a 1:1 scale impression game, big RPG, you can't have it set in a full city. I think you do it with like a small town or something. You do it with like Garenhof, right? It'd be like Garenhof the game or Pyken Square the game. Right, so basically, guys, Path of Fire, what I wanted to do first of all is get these, because I don't know where these are, I haven't done them. So Desolation Insight, Sand Jackal Leap, discover this Crystal Desert Mastery Insight in the Desolation. So it's called Sand Jackal Leap. And presumably I need to use the portals to get to it, which is why I missed it. Sand Jackal Leap, though, I don't actually know... I mean, it should appear as a marker on the map, right? I really do not have much map completion on my main. Here, it's here. Mastery point below. So let's go to the town then, and then let's go to the back and see what we've got there. It's funny, because I thought that you could walk through the Darklands to get there. It's probably better to come up here. What do you think about the future of MMOs in the face of VR and mobile gaming amongst other developments? Oh man, that's a good, fun area for topic. Topic for discussion. Why can't I dismount? Have I lagged out? Is this it? Are we over? No, I can use my skill 1. Why does that happen sometimes? I don't understand that, man. We're going to take a leisurely ride on a skimmer here. I mean, there are two, you know, massive different discussions, I guess. But on the VR angle, people are anticipating within the next 6 months the announcements of the Gen 2 headsets. Will Gen 2 allow... I mean, I'm a bit worried about Gen 2. I'm worried that people won't take it seriously because they took Gen 1 too seriously and had unrealistic expectations of how fast that industry was going to grow, and they didn't understand, you know, how long it takes stuff to be refined and it to catch on. They didn't realize it was going to be an enthusiast thing. So I'm worried that Gen 2 won't be taken seriously. People will say that VR's had its time before it has, for the 3rd time, because there's actually been 2 other early, overly ambitious attempts at VR that both sputtered out. Is this one different, is the question. I think it is absolutely different, and I think the mobile gaming market, mobile phone market, and what they've done with screens is obviously a huge part of that. And as long as that keeps getting pushed, I see VR can ride on the coattails. There's a question of our systems too, actually, because it takes such powerful systems to properly render games at the level that, you know, even if the screens existed, even if the headsets existed, and they were super low latency, and they were super high resolution, and they were super high refresh rate, and they had super high FOV, and they, you know, they check all the boxes. Even if they exist, you kind of got a problem in the... This is a really cool place, by the way. In that the PCs just won't be rendering it for a while. And unfortunately, the things haven't necessarily become a lot more affordable, have they? Over the past 2 years since we first started seeing the Oculus Rift and so forth. Because what savings and progression might have been made in terms of GPUs, people are losing that monetary benefit on massively inflated RAM prices at the moment, aren't they? So Gen 2 won't necessarily benefit from the fact of saying, well, yeah, Gen 1 you had to buy the games, and you had to buy the headset, and you needed a crazy enthusiast PC. Well, now guess what? That old crazy enthusiast PC is cheaper to get now. And the headset's better, and the games are a little bit cheaper because there's more people on those platforms, and blah, 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 blah. You can't even say that. Oh, so I kind of bypassed this whole puzzle. That's a bit of a shame. This is an interesting area, though. So I don't know, man. What you need is, like, VR to hit a much bigger market share before MMOs can then function. I think that that's sort of the standard line. There is kind of another... I think I read something about there's, like, concurrent 25,000 people playing VR games at any moment on Steam. Only about 25,000 people. That's, like, nothing. It's, like, a fraction of a percent of the total PC gaming market share out there, right? And obviously that's not the be-all and end-all, but it's, you know, it's indicative of something. So it's tiny. Now, MMOs, successful MMOs, need captive or user bases that stick about for ages and ages and ages and ages and ages, and they need high population levels. So building an MMO is already a ridiculous thing. Building an MMO on the back of VR is like, you know, it just seems like ridiculously, like, idiotic and impossible to do. Like, you won't get a good VR MMO until you've got good VR full stop, is kind of the thing. Now, there is another view, and like an optimistic view, and maybe you guys are excited by this, and that's the fact that, and that's believing that, no, that's not true, VR is... Sorry, MMO. An MMO is the killer app for VR that will itself accelerate VR and make it a thing. And there's kind of this other belief that actually... It's not that MMOs have to wait in line for ages and ages and ages before they can be successful in VR. It's actually the reverse, that it's a great VR MMO that would sell tons of headsets and gaming PCs and so on because it's so exciting. And if you believe that, it's because you believe that everyone wants, you know, that Sword Art Online experience and, you know, so on. What's the other big thing about basically living in an MMO? It's kind of that idea. I don't know which one I really believe. Anyway, we're many years out. I'd give it like 10 to 20 years before we even see someone attempt such a project, and maybe 25 to 30 before we see a really successful one. Which will be good, because around then I'll be in my 50s, 60s, and it'll be the perfect time for me to go live in a fake world and pretend I'm, you know, some big buff man. When in fact I'm a grey, sad, diminutive figure. As for mobile, I actually think that you might be onto something. In the meantime, we might see interesting... I mean, it's a weird thing, though, because I don't know whether MMO is a really descriptive term anymore or a marketable term, so I don't know whether thinking in terms of... There's people who say... yeah, it's really common to say there are no successful MMOs. The MMO industry is a husk. It's dead. It's useless. It's, you know, it's asthmatic. And MMO developers and MMO community should be ashamed, and the golden age of MMOs is over, and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I kind of question that, because I sort of think MMO design and highly social design, massively multiplayer aspects of games, they're filtered everywhere. They're littered all over the place now. And maybe it's not so much that MMOs are shit now and all dead. It's just that idea of like a pure MMORPG that you've got in your head. You can actually get a lot of what was great about that in other games now, because just like multiplayer, you know, like I think it's genuinely fair to say there are massively multiplayer online elements of like GTA 5, right? And there are massively multiplayer online MMOs elements of a ton of games. So is it really... So by the way, how do we actually... Is it this portal? This seems like a particularly secretive portal. It is. Nice. So I've never been here either. So I don't know. I think that that's something to pay attention to as well. Maybe we'll never see a great MMO again. And it's not because there's not going to be a great product that feels and plays the same way. But it's just because it's not going to be marketed to us or thought about as an MMO. Because the term itself is like kind of flabby. Mobile gaming will fail again if companies, as shown recently, only use it to leech money from consumers. I don't know. I think that, you know, when I look at like console gaming and arcade gaming and stuff in the early days, there was a lot of like blatant money grabs and cheesy, gross, underhanded practices and, you know, blatant stealing and soulless shit just for the purpose of making money. And out of that, though, was born industry. And out of that industry was born artistry. And was born genuine passion and great games. And I'm not quite sure why mobile gaming in its infancy... Yes, it's participating in all this cheesy, tacky shite that nobody wants to be associated with. But, just purely for money. But how's that any different? I reckon you can get great games on mobile. I reckon gaming on the go has got opportunity and can do well. I think we've seen some of it as well. I think that there are some great mobile games. Not that I particularly play them much, but I mean, would people really argue that like a game like, well, I don't know. Hearthstone's a port, but is well regarded as a great mobile game. Fallout Shelter is regarded as a great mobile game. Though obviously people have their quips with it. Just as people have their quips with Guild Wars 2. But Guild Wars 2 is a great game and a successful game, right? If we just take a step back for a second. So yeah, I don't know. So that was the other mastery point. So that was the first bit that I wanted to do on the stream. I wanted to get those. So now, with Path of Fire, I'm finally complete with this section. That's all of them. And I'm not sure there's any other hidden areas I haven't been to. So then we've got Crystal Desert. Always time for time is associated with a story. Roads less travelled. Find Priory historian Alyssa, located somewhere in the Crystal Desert region. So she moves around, doesn't she? Does someone in chat want to tell me about her? I want to get this. So does she move around? This guy looks pretty cool. What about riding a jackal with that kind of cap? Looks awesome. And he's got a spear as well. Man, what weapon is that? All right, I think he might be speaking to us, so we're gonna hide around here. Shh, guys, it'll be fine. Let's scroll down. It's weird that MMO seems to be a genre that's simultaneously better than ever, a dying genre, will be huge in the future, and will never be good as it was 10 years ago. Yeah, that depends on people's opinions, but maybe that's a sign that, you know, it's, like I said, it's flabby. It means too much. Log Horizon. There you go. They're both .hack rip-offs. Well, there you go, look. There's an argument that that's what VR is waiting for. Has ArenaNet released their Q3 2017 earnings? Not that I heard of, but I'm a bit out of the loop because I haven't really been looking at their stream. So yeah, guys, tell me what I missed on the streams as well, these 24-hour stream or whatever. She is at Brand, Northeast Crystal Oasis. All right. She's the Brand, Northeast Crystal Oasis. Crystal Oasis. So she's like up here somewhere. That's fine. We can do that. Going to be interesting if we learn more about Lissa and the future, given the hints in Season 3 and Path of Fire. ArenaNet have left the door open for future involvement without mystery. Yeah, they absolutely have. You know what's really fascinating as well that I keep finding myself thinking? And it's not a good thing because I keep wanting to do videos about living... So I've got a video coming up with Boots, by the way, where we are playing the the Guild Wars 2 card game, which should be very fun. That took ages to edit as well, but it was good. I always like it when I can do some multicam stuff. What was I going to say? Man, I can't remember. I've completely forgotten what I was about to say. What's the camera in the bottom left? It was submitted by Kritzloff, and it's a Pokemon-themed face cam. Double click on Leyline Infused Sand, and it will show you where she is. Okay, that's cool. Well, I'll just take a guess here and see. Christ, what was I talking about? I'm mad now. I fear ArenaNet might fuck up with Lissa. They can't... Oh, yeah. Living World. Yeah. So I was talking about... So I keep thinking about wanting to do a Living World speculation video. And every time I'm in the process of thinking about it, I always get captured and hung up remembering that... I'm going to go for this Vista over here as well. Which, by the way, was really tricky with the Raptor. And I haven't done on any other mount, so I'm really curious about how it feels. But I keep getting hung up, and I keep thinking back to the start of Living World Season 3. Everything we dealt with in Bloodstone Fen and Out of the Shadows, what relevance did it really have? This is annoying. Oh my god, this is super annoying. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave and break combat and try to get the Vista elsewise. Because I'm on a healing build and it's going to take forever to break combat from those guys by killing them. So we're going to run away. It had so little to do with it. So, you know, that's a fascinating thing to think about. What if... Got it. What if, you know, Season 4 goes... It just throws a complete curveball. You know? Maybe that's just a sign that Heart of Thorns wasn't great at the way it ended and so on. Looks like Lissa used her mesmer magic to enchant my mind momentarily. I think it's just that I'm got a bit sleepy, really. I did something really stupid before this stream as well. Yeah, I went into the kitchen to get my coffee. I looked at the sign and I was like, where's my my AeroPress? Everybody get an AeroPress. It's a French press that's easy to clean and easy to use. AeroPress. Buy link in the description. No, so I went in the kitchen to find my my coffee maker. And I was like, oh, I don't see it. Where the hell is it? Did I put it in another room? And then I went into the living room to see if I had it there, which already is ridiculous because why would I ever make coffee in here? So that's stupid as well. But then I went back into the kitchen. I was like, no, it's not there. I went back into the kitchen and I saw that it was just on the counter right where I'd been looking a second ago. It's like there were like multiple levels of just really weird brain fart, brain dead ridiculousness there. I don't know what I'm doing here. I was trying to climb to the top of the thing to get the skill challenge, but screw it. Let's go up to find Alyssa. I also just sounded like Tweak's dad on South Park. Has he been in a recent episode? I've not been keeping up with it. Apparently Fractured Butthole is out now as well, so should find some time to play that. Will we ever know what WP has planned with Boots? What do you mean planned? My current plans with Boots are to keep doing Boots Bad builds with him and find... I don't know. We want to find something regular and good that we can do on my channel with him, but it feels like we're cursed. Whenever we have an idea, we either lose passion for it quite quickly, or there's a leak that destroys it. I guess that's it, actually. Those are the only two things that have happened, really. But, you know, it's a shame. So I'm not sure. I guess I'm going to go to the wiki page to find this lady, because it's not quite working. So thanks for the link there, B-boy. Let's have a look-sees. I have so many tabs open. Oh, what? She's not here at all. She's in the Ellen Riverlands. Somebody led us astray. How very dare you? It's the Ellen Riverlands next to the Skimmer Ranch. You should be ashamed. Ashamed for trying to help. Ashamed for not realizing that she's a moving NPC. And frankly, I'm disgusted. Yeah, no worries, Rain Pumpkin. I'm going to search for more cats. Yeah, I mean, we have the cat series. But a series like that are not good. They're not smart because they're not renewable. It's just sitting about waiting for the devs to give us more. We're like babies sitting in our prams, having to be spoon-fed entertainment. That you know, which is what a lot of the Guild Wars replayability comes from. That's not good, though. What's more fun is, like, stuff like Elite Speculation, where we can take it into our own hands. People who have watched me for a long time will remember that the earlier series I did with Boots, where we were making our own games like Buddy Blitz and what was the other one? There's another game we used to play as well. You know, like things we invented, renewable content that we make for ourselves with honor rules and things. That's the kind of stuff we really like. And we just sort of don't have any inspiration. And you'll find the projects I do with Boots are always like that kind of thing, you know. So I believe Alyssa is like... She's on one of these rocks somewhere. We just got to figure out how to climb up. Let's just come up here. Yeah, Elite Speculation could be started again at NG. We talked about that on Monday's stream. Here we go. But I don't want to do it yet because it's too premature. I want to do it like a year from now when people actually... There's no point doing speculation for the next expansion already. It's just ridiculous. And it also makes... It kind of makes Path of Fire look bad. A lot of people don't really play the game or follow it, but they watch me. And, like, I'm their ear to the ground. And if they see already, about a month after an expansion release, I'm hitting up the hype train for talking about future expansion stuff. It's just going to make Path of Fire look terrible. And it's also going to cannibalize my own views later. So anyway, when a video like that would be more worthwhile. Alicia, we got the achievement by speaking to her already. She says, it's hard to appreciate the beauty of this spot knowing that gigantic bone wall is not far away. Where do you think they got the bones from? Are they real? What an awful thought. So is she supposed to be like a Nicholas the Traveller style thing? Is it supposed to be like the new version of the packed supply merchants from Heart of Thorns? Are you out here on Priory business, we can ask? And she says, well, I'm a historian for the Priory, and we haven't had access to this region in quite some time. There's a lot to see and document, and it's up to me to do it. So you're just taking a look around and taking notes? Thanks for making it sound so dull. But no, it's not all I'm doing. I've also been collecting ley-infused sand. If you've gotten any from hunting bounties, I'll trade you for it. Ley-infused sand? I want to study it. There's a strange ley line activity around here, and prolonged exposure to it seems to change the structure of the sand. There's also bits of other things that I can't identify just yet. Okay, let's trade. So, she takes my ley line infused sand, and she offers me wares. Such as a treasure hunting kit for a single pile, which is very cheap, and a little bit of karma. A cache of the Traveller. This is Nicholas the Traveller. Can I only buy 5 of these per... No, 27 max, but is that just limited by my currencies? Oh, you fools, ArenaNet. If you capped that at 5 and gave it some really interesting exclusive loot there, you would have kind of done Nicholas the Traveller again. Kind of, ish. I noticed someone was still doing Nicholas the Traveller videos on YouTube for Guild Wars 1. I also noticed there's a really good Guild Wars 1 YouTuber out there whose name I completely forget. But I promise I'm sincere in trying to get them viewership. There's, fuck. What's happening to my brain, guys? I'm going to have to quit my job. I'm going to have to stop doing this because I can't. I can't articulate things anymore. There's a good YouTuber who does like team builds and comps and stuff for Guild Wars 1. Who's Nicholas the Traveller? It's an NPC that it's like a weekly NPC that moves around Guild Wars 1, takes different items and gives you exclusive rewards, but you have to find him. And in a game with less waypoints and so on, it was a phenomena. All right, so anyway, Cash the Traveller. Let's grab those. And what do we have here? Unidentified gear. Trade contracts. Elonian rod. Do we get anything special from these? Or is it just awakened stuff? What's the point in these? That didn't seem very good, guys. Does she have another tab? She does have another tab. Tales of Elona. Huh. So I have a tale of loyalty. Our word was a sacred bond that was respected by our people, our friends, and our foes. Please restore that trust on our behalf. I can give her... What? Hold on, though. I thought this tale was like a primeval king story thing that you got from killing a legendary bounty, right? So what's the lore thing here? What? Because she's with the Dermot Priory, I'll give it to her because she's with the Priory, but then she gives me the blessing of loyalty. The chest is the biggest scam. Don't buy it, lol. Yeah, it looks like it. Oh, so I got actual achievement progress here. The recitation of the Litany of Deeds. It was customary for heralds and traveling performers to gather and compete over who could tell the most impressive tales to assembled guests and foreign dignitaries. Alright, okay. So, I'm noticing here that she only has... Okay, so there's a tale we get, which we turn into a blessing. Then a tale into a blessing. Then a tale into a blessing. So are these from repeat legendary bounty kills? And then we go through these afterwards. So I wonder then if my Scourge has a ton of that stuff. Because my Scourge, we did all these streams of bounties on, right? We also did a lot of bounties on the Ellie. But the Scourge... Oh, this is Mirage. Crap. It's not the same. There is a similar yellow of the bounties. A similar yellow of the bounties? What do you mean by that? Here's Scourge. It's going to be interesting to see what role Logan and possibly Zodja may play in Living World Season 4. Yeah, because Logan didn't have that role in Path of Fire. I've talked about... I feel like the game is missing a scene right now. I'm getting really sick of logging into Guild Wars and getting in combat no matter what I'm doing. Just the way that the game is structured and organized and stuff at the moment, it just happens constantly. Oh, please no. Oh. Is this just me? Why would I spawn next to both of the bosses that only decide to aggro on me after the fucking... after I'm trying to kill the regular little mobs, which I can't because I've been dicking about with my gear and stuff. Oh my god. This is actually so horrendously annoying. Can you leave me alone, please? Alright, I'm just gonna die. Thoughts on the new specializations? Considering buying it? Yeah, dude, the new specializations are really good. If you haven't got either Heart of Thorns or POF, I know more about the Heart of Thorns Elite specs, but they're all really good. I would say that they're value for money. I think that these expansions almost sell themselves based on that. I'm not advocating releasing an expansion and selling it that's only Elite specializations, but, you know, they are that dramatic for the game that they, you know, they are massive, massive parts. So, yeah. If you are going to get the game, I've got a link in the description, which if you use it, helps me out. If you do choose to pick up either of the expansions. But yeah, I enjoy them. Warwick says just die on waypoint. Yeah, but you obviously that's an option. What you don't seem to be comprehending here is that there's a chance you can just walk away and you don't damage your armor. You don't add another death to the ticker. You don't have to spend ages. You just break combat a couple of seconds after using a few buttons, and then you waypoint. And quite often that is the better route. It's a toss-up whether that's going to be the right thing to do or not. And besides, the frustration came from the fact that I was killing some random little mobs, and then got attacked by the legendary right before the last one died. I'm thinking of getting into Guild Wars 2. I don't plan to get the expansions. Should I still give the game a try? Yeah, man. Free to play. You can get a feel for it. It's not too bad. So, Blessing is not what we've got. We got, what are they? The litanies? What's it called? And where does it appear? It's collections, right? So collections, rare collections, exaltation of the... Oh, what's this? Clear the branded forgotten zealots from the Grand Court. Oh, yeah, I need to do this as well. Shit. We need to do that on one of the streams. Probably tomorrow's stream we'll do that. We've got all these gemstones still to get as well. Oh, shit. I needed to keep these sapphires and things. These I'm pretty sure I've been deleting. But these are going to be spread across tons. So I can do that. So there's one more. I need Royal Onyx. Grandmaster Elder Jin Amin holds this somewhere in the domain of Vabi. So I need to kill one of the Elder Jin for the Royal Onyx. And then I can take all of these gems into Zomoros's lair. Oh, I also need Saturated Tormented Tourmaline. Dude, this is a cool collection. These are nice icons and cool. This is the kind of thing that I actually would like to collect. Royal Onyx. Dwarf Cut Adamantine. Effervescent Dwarf Cut Adamantine. Kindled Lost Emerald. This is cool. Lush Ellen Sapphire. Man, how opulent. I really like that. That's still not what I'm looking for, though. Restoration of the Litany of Deeds. Here we go. So the tail. They're called tails. So I want to type here tail. Oh, I do have a tail. I have the tail of loyalty. But I already have... What? Oh, these are just from events, I guess? Assist a group of ogres seeking aid at the Tomb of the Primeval Kings. Does my new Weaver have a ton of these? I thought I cleaned his inventory, though. Oh, it's 5 amalgamated gemstones as well. 1 for each. Okay. Let's type tail in here, then. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Tale of Judgment and a Tale of Courage. So we can do those two. We're in the brand, which also would be annoying to deal with combat, but we're under a ledge, so we're good. DJ Guy Dan 97 says, I recently completed that gemstone one. Dude, every time I see 97, I'm guessing that's your date of birth, right? I was looking at some old game soundtracks during the week, and when I say old game, I don't mean old game. I just mean games that I played, you know, around the release of Guild Wars 2, little bit earlier, 2008, 2009, 2010 games. To me, a game that released in 2008 is not, mentally, it's not really an old game. And I was looking at some soundtracks because I was like, oh yeah, I want to listen to that. That was a fun game. I want to listen to that. And I had this amazing situation where I was reading the comments and all these people were talking about them being ridiculously wild nostalgia bombs for them, and that they, you know, it brought them back to a happier time, and I can relate to that. I know what it feels like to listen to video. You know, the outro to my all my videos is a game called Little Big Adventure 2, right? Which I get incredibly nostalgic. You ruin it if you listen to it too much. But like the feeling I get listening to that music is, it almost can't be described. It's incredible. Like this really, really beautiful, incredible nostalgic mix that takes me back to my childhood. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have your own examples of that, you know, whatever games you played at a certain period of your life. So anyway, I know how that feels. But for me, to experience that, I'm listening to games that released in like, you know, 97, 98, 99. Old games. Those are old games. 20-year-old games and so on. And I was just looking at, you know, what I was considering recent releases And there were all these people in the comments talking about, you know, oh my god, this was my childhood. And, you know, they're basically expressing what I'm talking about. But for what I consider really new games, and it's scared the shit out of me. And then and a lot of them were talking about, you know, how old they were and stuff. And it was all people saying, yeah, I was like born in 99. I was born in 2001. I was born in 2002. And I don't know what it is, but something about this week, the past 2 weeks, something about the kind of threads that I've looked at and the discussions I've been involved in and the videos I've watched and so on, something about it has really, really pushed in my face how young everyone is around me on YouTube and on Twitch and just generally. Like, I've always known as a fact that most people are in that like 12-year-old to 18-year-old demo. And if you're 12 years old right now, you know, you were born in like 2004 or some crap. When were you born if you're 12 right now? God, not even later than 2004, which is, you know, great. And so I'm starting to have that moment. I'm only in my mid-20s, but I'm genuinely having that moment already where it's like I feel old. I'm in my mid-20s and I feel old. That's sad, isn't it? I know it's cliche and actually quite boring to talk about, but you'd be surprised how quickly that starts coming, guys. You'd be surprised. So yeah. Alright, so that's 2 more of them. So what else am I looking for here, really? I'm looking for the Tale of Plenty. It takes hard work and ingenuity to make life thrive out here, but we did it for centuries, and no mere rampaging god or despot will stop our people. So for this, we need to protect the Amnoon Water Authority and those who maintain it when they're under attack. Well, that's actually not bad. I think we can probably pull that off. Let's go on The Guardian. I know where that event is, and that event runs pretty frequently, so let's go do that. Tomb Raider 2, Crash 2, etc. all released in 97. I know, right? Right? Tomb Raider 3 main theme. Look it up right now. Turn off this crappy stream. It doesn't matter. Go on, go away. But go listen to that YouTube video. Tomb Raider 3 main theme. If you ever played Tomb Raider 3, if you were like a PS1 kid, like I was, right? Go listen to that. It will make your heart melt. Just the main opening theme. And there's actually a lot of stuff like Sega Genesis stuff as well that makes me very nostalgic too. So I'm sort of like early PlayStation, and there's and you know, it's just weird, but that's my era. That's what I'm talking about, and it's so fucking weird to see games like Journey, right? Like, look at Journey sound. I mean, the Journey soundtrack is kind of a well-known thing anyway, but people talking about that being a genuine nostalgia bomb for them. Journey, really? It's weird, scary. Okay, so yeah, let's go to the Water Authority. I'm going to use my Lily of the Ellen pass, because that puts me right next to it, and for free. Then gold efficiency. So someone says the original Zelda and Final Fantasy themes. See, it's really weird to me, though, because while I played games, I never really played big, well-known franchises. Not that much. And specifically Nintendo-oriented stuff. It strikes me there's like a whole generation, parallel to my generation, of people who have that feeling, like that Little Big Adventure 2 feeling, which is so raw and pure and ridiculous to me when I listen to it. And that they would have that over a Zelda game is really weird to me, because a Zelda game was always something other for me. It was always something different. It was... you know, those weren't games I played. Those were popular games. The most popular sort of franchises I got... I did play a bit of Mario in the early days. I played specifically the handheld Marios. I played Super Mario Land. I played a lot of. And I used to go to a friend's house who had a Nintendo 64. I never properly owned one until much later. But they had an N64, and they played Mario 64 when I was very young as well. So Super Mario 64, I have a little bit of it, but not much. And certainly Zelda and stuff I all missed out on. So, like, I sort of don't identify with that when it comes to really successful... And, you know, people feeling that way about Star Fox, and people feeling that way about... What were some other big early 90s hits? Mortal Kombat. I suppose there are some things missed. I remember spending time... I don't really have... Ugh, let's not drag it down. But I have a happy memory with my father when he would play Myst on the PC, and I'd like sit in the room and he'd be smoking his pipe, and we had a fire going in the room, It was always very warm, and I remember spending a winter watching him play Myst and struggle with the puzzles in Myst and various old PC games and stuff like that. So Myst is obviously pretty dramatic and popular. But yeah, you know, a lot of my experiences were like, you know, when I think of PlayStation 1, I think of all the ridiculous, you know, the massive quantity of just weird, like, unknown, odd games that nonetheless were released for the platform that no one really knew about, but hey, you had it, so you played it, you know? That I could never relate to someone else with now. You look up these games, you look up, like, Pandemonium 2's soundtrack on YouTube, and it will have, like, 3,000 views a video kind of thing, you know? You look up Creatures 2. Creatures 2, that's a game I've got for. You look at that soundtrack, it's tiny, you know? Croc was your favorite? I didn't even know there was a sequel until I bought it and saw it on Amazon. Croc 2, man. I played a lot of Croc 2. I'm sure I sound really hipster in what I'm saying right now. Oh, I only played the obscure releases. But it doesn't benefit me in any way. I'm not trying... That's not a brag in any way. It doesn't benefit me. You know, all these other people could say, oh, yeah, you know, I followed Zelda and I followed, you know, Star Fox and all this stuff. And, you know, I just don't have those experiences generally. I have some. I have, like, Echo the Dolphin... and Golden Axe. And that Earthworm Jim game. And Ski Free. Ski Free is probably my earliest gaming experience. Croc, Love Heart. I swear no one else at school had this. And that carried on for me even into the early PS2 games. There are a lot of weird, basically shit PS2 games I used to own and play that no one else had. So, Ooze's remaining 1. Basically, we just do this event as far as I'm aware, and we should get it. You passed on the PlayStation stuff. You were more for Sega Saturn. Sadly, Sega had no clue what the fuck they were doing. There was actually a Reddit thread just last night I was reading about how it was an Ask Reddit thing of what was really good, but... its execution was slightly off and it got ruined by not being perfect or whatever. And there was a huge chain with people talking about the Dreamcast. And how, you know, it had a screen on a controller and it had proper online gaming and stuff. It was just too ahead of its time and so on. And how you could, like, export your Chow from your Chow garden and all this stuff. Wrong event. The event for the achievement is Pipe Defense. North of there. You probably just lost it. Oh. How did I probably just lose it? So it's actually this one up here, I guess? Doesn't it all chain together, though? So once we finish this... oh, no, it's there. I see it. Oh, and now it's turning off. All right. Oh, yeah, we have mounts. Why am I wasting my time with this? Northern Water Pipe. Okay, thank you so much to the legend, the absolute boss that just helped us there. It wasn't a failure in Japan. It failed internationally because they didn't localize any of the damn games. Interesting. It's my first time to see you live and not on YouTube. There is one thing that bothers me hard with Path of Fire. Why don't we get a gift of exploration or any way to obtain one? Or do I just miss that out? Because they set that 2 Legis will continued in Living Season 4, which is bound to POF. So why should POF only people not be able to build one until they get Jot? Wow. A gift of exploration is a Corteria thing that you get from completing map completion. And if you own Path of Fire, you also own Corteria, and you should be able to still do map completion. So I'm not sure what that comment is. Maybe people in chat can help you a bit more, but as far as I understand, that's the case. Speaking of mounts, did you know you can keybind the mounts option and then use that menu to keybind mounts? No. You have just changed this potato's life. I know what you're trying to say, but the continued Heart of Thorns legendaries are getting released with Season 4, not required. Yeah, the upcoming legendaries that they're doing are... we don't actually know exactly how they'll filter them in. I've already lost credit on that event, which I spent so long on. The event timeout thing should scale based on the amount of time you've spent there already. You know, if they fixed up the whole silver, bronze, gold participation thing, they could connect those two systems. in helping to determine how long till it expires. Oh, you're saying that the new legendaries require Heart of Thorns exploration stuff. Do they? Are they? Is that confirmed? Is that something I missed from a stream? Oh, they're basically just saying, why did the Heart of Thorns ones... I guess they just wanted to refine the way the legendaries work and stuff. Yeah, but it is a bit of a mess how they've handled map completion, in my opinion, and what they viewed it as supposed to be in the game and stuff. This is actually pretty bad. Northern Pipe is really low. Is there any way we can fix it up? I mean, it's getting really hammered, but who's hitting it? And the Southern Pipe's not doing too well either. It's because they're underneath, right? Are they like saboteurs that are dropping bombs from underneath? I'm going to annoy all of them. Are you ready? Hee hee hee. That's what I'm talking about. That's that Jarakanda Soul Beast action right there. Or Ranger, I should just say. Ranger action. No Heart of Thorns equals no Gen 2 legendaries. Right, and I guess that makes sense, right? Heart of Thorns sold legendaries, so just because it's taken them a long time to get them out, why should... So basically, the original... As far as I understand now, the original comment is expressing an upset because they're not getting any legendaries with their Path of Fire purchase, while Heart of Thorns players are getting theirs. And that's especially transparent right now, because the Heart of Thorns people are still in the process of being given their legendaries, even though Path of Fire is now out. So, you know, it's on their mind. And I think that that's a fair thing to ask, but, you know, that was a decision you made when you bought Path of Fire. Or are we going to go down the angle of, oh, but I bought it for legendaries and I didn't realize and I was deceived? In which case, I don't know whether that's really a discussion I care to have. It's unfortunate, but, you know, it's an anecdote. It's your personal little mishap, faux pas. Describe my dream RPG. See, that's a horrible question because my dream RPG has like a million different components to it. Like what I described with the map earlier, that is something I would put in my dream RPG. Absolutely. I also like RPGs that have a very pure sense of where stats come from. I mean, I don't know, man. This is going to be really weird and boring, and all the little things I talk about are going to be just like, it's going to be like odd sounding. But like, I like RPGs that are very pure about where your stats come from. Is it from leveling or is it from gear? I think the best way you can do it is actually to have leveling gives no stats. And I know that sounds weird and odd to people, but I like that all stats are loaded on gear. I think that makes itemization and stuff really fun. But leveling is simply a gate to equipping gear. So all your stats come from gear, all your perks, well, not all perks and stuff, you know, that can be different. But leveling gives you access to like traits or perks or whatever. But stats, basically it says, you know, you get a weapon and it says this has X attack, X defense, X, Y, Z. And it requires level 19, it requires level 33, it requires level 34, whatever, however high your level cap goes. And I think that itemization in that world is incredibly fun. I think that when you give people stats on level up, which, for example, many MMOs do, RPGs do, Guild Wars does, I think that it makes the level... It's supposed to make the level feel more fun to obtain. But I actually think it just dilutes sort of the overall fun. I think it's just as fun to hit level 19 because you know you can equip this cool gear that you've had waiting in your inventory than it is to level and gain a bit of health each time. When that health comes purely from the chest piece or whatever, I don't know. I think that's fun. I don't know whether my perfect RPG is an MMO. I will say that. Anyway. Still, my friends rather play WoW monthly because it's cheaper than buying Guild Wars 2 once. Facepalm. Yeah, you know, one of the things that is really underrated. Here's some advice for you guys on the competition as well. The Get Path of Fire competition, the Grow the Scene competition. Another thing I think that is criminally underrated about Guild Wars 2 And it's because the captive audience takes it for granted and doesn't think about it. But it's value for money. I actually think the Guild Wars franchise is probably one of the most value for money franchises there is out there. In terms of hours played versus what you actually have to spend on it. Like, it's obscene. Can you imagine being a completionist-minded player coming to Guild Wars 2 now, right? You spend $50 on a bundle for POF and HOT. $50. Can you imagine trying to go all the way up to 30k AP? Can you imagine that shit? I mean, just look at my hours played. You know, it kind of doesn't work anymore because of the whole gem store thing, and most people with lots of hours do end up spending a lot of gems and stuff. Where am I going? Yeah, I'm going to the Skimmer Ranch. It's fine. We're going to go this way. It kind of doesn't work in some perspectives, but, you know, I think it's incredible value for money, isn't it? Isn't it? Like, really? So, I think that's an interesting argument to present to people who write Guild Wars 2 off. That doesn't get the exposure it deserves, the value for money argument. Does anybody want to contradict me on that? I'd be curious about reasons why you believe it's not the case. What's the best place to ask a lore question? There was a line of dialogue in POF that confused me about the relationship between Forgotten, the Six, and Glint. Not necessarily of WP, but just in general. Well, when I do lore videos, the YouTube comments tend to be pretty good for lore discussion. And obviously here on the streams, we talk about lore a reasonable amount. You can make Reddit threads, and usually they do okay, as long as what you're saying is sound and is in some way intriguing. The official forums have a lot of people who are very fanatical about lore who will talk about it. So yeah, those are the best ways to ask about lore, I think. Chief Gid says, yeah, I think I've spent more on gems than I would on a sub fee. Yeah, I think I might be at that level as well, honestly. But I think that there's a fundamental difference that's more consumer-friendly about the gem store approach, especially with Guild Wars, which is not that... You know, and this also goes underappreciated. It's not pay to win. You know how many games get absolutely destroyed because they are so aggressive and money hungry, and they don't know how to monetize things properly? Like, as far as I understand, and I'm not trying to shit talk the game or anything, and I hope that it does well, and, you know, I'd love to go back to it and cover it more, and I'd love to do another NCSoft collaboration stuff. As far as I understand, though, MXM is struggling, like, really bad. The only discussion you'll ever find on it, people are being incredibly hateful and furious at the way it was handled and blah, blah, blah. And it seems to have all stemmed from the fact that very shortly after release, they put in an update that massively bumped the, like, microtransaction prices for everything. But, like, incredibly heavy pay-to-win elements on it. Now, I only know that second hand, and you guys now know that third hand. But, you know, you hear about stuff like that all the time. Guild Wars has always been really good with that. But, you know, I think there's something fundamentally more consumer-friendly about... I had the choice to spend the same amount as a sub fee. Or, for some people, more than a sub fee, or whatever. I chose to do that. And I got tangible goods from it. Sometimes it may not have always been worth it. Maybe I spent money on blackline chests and it felt awful and terrible and so on. But I got tangible goods for it. So when you just say, okay, you have to pay me X amount of money at the gate to play this game, it's kind of a massive fucking middle finger to the consumer. A disgusting middle finger that everybody just sort of goes along with because, hey, it's the done thing. And, you know, I think that there's a world of difference there. Even if both communities end up spending the same amount of money on average, which I don't know if that's true, does the average Guild Wars 2 player spend more or less than World of Warcraft? I don't know. Or a sub fee. And let's be honest as well. WoW are really the only guys that are doing sub fees anymore. And sticking with it. Isn't that true? What other MMOs are still sub fee based and incredibly successful at it? And I mean, you guys have got no idea. It kind of makes me cringe a little bit. These are discussions I've been having since before I was even on fucking YouTube. Because it was all the talk of the town. It was, you know, when Guild Wars 2 was coming out. And even for Guild Wars 1. Everything we're talking about is relevant for Guild Wars 1. All these discussions on whether that money justifies new content. Or whether it's required for server upkeep. And as servers became cheaper to run. And, you know, whether it's a cash grab and stuff. Oh yeah, RuneScape has members, right? For like $3 or what is a membership? I believe I remember a membership being £3 a month way back when. And a little bit of insight into my family, the wealth we had. I'm not saying I was poor or anything, but how strict my household was in terms of like spending. That £3 membership took a lot of convincing to get. I could never have paid for WoW. Eventually things lightened up. When I became a teenager and Xbox Live was a bigger thing, we got Live and stuff. Guild Wars 2 proves the sub fees are a total ripoff. Anyway, yeah, so, you know, I think there's a level of consumer friendliness there. And I think, you know, those are great perks. Those are strong assets for Guild Wars. The problem is Guild Wars 2 players don't care about talking about that. And, I don't know. I feel like random offhand comments from people who are angry at the gem store, minor things on the gem store. Like, if someone comes to Guild Wars 2 at launch and sees the swim speed booster and gets offended, he might then go around and tell everyone that's pay to win. And immediately, just because of that, it hinders a lot of, like, the game's reputation. What's this about raid wings? If Guild Wars 2 had a sub fee, maybe we'd get more than one raid wing a year. Imagine another MMO that got content once a year. Yeah, but that's pretty... The thing is, though, raid is not the only thing in Guild Wars. I think it's disingenuous to sort of take that as a broad sample of whether the game's getting content or not. It's absolutely ridiculous to say, oh, imagine another MMO that only got content once a year. Also, I've heard things like that of WoW as well. I've heard, like, WoW's actual content that they put in, even with a sub fee and all the resources that Blizzard have, that they're incredibly slow with it. I don't know whether that's, like, only certain eras they've been incredibly slow with and stuff. 1.5 fractals a year, so the end game receives updates, 2.5 updates a year. I mean, yeah, if we're going to tunnel vision into endgame, would you not argue, though, that an expansion release provides content for people at the end of the game, and thus is a factor of endgame? I mean, Path of Fire has its issues with replayability, definitely, and I don't deny that. But again, I still think that that's a bit hyperbolic. We only get Halloween once a year, that's a ripoff. Let me trade this thing. So, let's grab that right there. Okay, good. And the last one is to stop the Mordant Grave Riser from defiling graves in the Ellen Riverlands. So the Grave Riser defiling graves. Is that going to be something at the Bone Wall? There's kind of a graveyardy area on the top left as well. For what it's worth, I do agree that it has been a long time since a raid came out. And it is a bit unfortunate for people that only go for that. But I don't have much sympathy for people who only care about that. Or only care about fractals as well. I think it's an arbitrary distinction to make in a lot of ways. It's the same as I don't really credit people's discussions about balance when that's all they... Or if they talk broadly about the game, but then only use examples relative to a single aspect of the game, i.e., you know, the world versus world balance, or more commonly, raid balance. You know, I don't really have much sympathy for that either. I think most people outside of the raiding / Fractal the Mist community don't realize how this release cadence is killing that community. Yeah, you know, it's funny as well because last week we didn't raid at all. Wait, was it last week? Yeah, last week my group, like, basically the past like 5 weeks we've got together, we've been incredibly low effort and very low motivation and not really caring too much, I'd say. Last week we didn't do it at all. This week we did 3 encounters, but the servers were being like DDoSed at the time and there was a little bit of lag, and we were just like immediately, let's not. So yeah, you know, I'm feeling that lack of enthusiasm myself heavily. And if a raid wing had released with POF, or right after POF, or right before POF, I think the perceptions of the expansion would have been a lot better if they'd actually taken the time to put it out with POF. I think if that had happened, I wouldn't quite be in that same situation. And it is weird as well, because they were alright with the first 3 wings, at the speed that they got the first 3 wings out. Then they described having, like, issues with Bastion, if I remember. Like, specific oh dear, this is unfortunate. You know, we had someone go off to what did they have? They said someone go off to a training or something, or to give some talk somewhere, and they had someone be ill, and they had, you know, just some minor things, which meant that Bastion was a slower release to come out. Bastion was really good. I really enjoyed Bastion. I mean, but even that had tuning problems. For people that really want a challenge, for like the real top percent, even they didn't like Bastion much because it wasn't tuned properly, and it's you know, it wasn't tested well enough, and you know, they've even openly said that on an MMO, on an AMA. So, you know, but then there was a suggestion that maybe then it would go back to the Wing 1 to 3 release cadence, but now here we are many months later and nothing's really come from it. Now, is that because of Path of Fire getting in the way? Are we about to move back to a kind of a Wing 1, Raid 1 style thing again? I don't know. I don't mind the difficulty of Bastion the Penitent, but that's because I'm not actually very good at the game. And my group is not, you know, we're not perfect players, and so it's a nice, easy thing. I always start with Wing 4, always. Those 3 encounters I talked about were the first 3 ones there. Got a little bit of lag at Demos, and our tank got knocked off, and then basically everyone said, yeah, fuck it. That was my raiding this week. It was about 20 minutes of raiding. But again, like, raiding to me is just, it's something I do once a week and that's it. It's not really that important to me. And maybe that's a sign of the danger there, but it means I don't really care that much. It doesn't sting me so much. I mean, I've got so many collections and things, and I get a lot of joy out of doing the expansion itself. So yeah. I think it's still ridiculous to say, oh, there was only one update all year, when it's an expansion year that's also had, you know, all the other stuff. If you play more broadly, and if you really like story, and if you really like open world, there's obviously a ton in the game, and that is the majority of people. I think the Grave event was somewhere east of the Skimmer Farm. East of the Skimmer Farm. Okay. Well, we'll try that then. Skimmer Farm's north of us a little bit. Do you remember any deeper connection of Grenth and Lissa? I think I remember you mentioning that Grenth was interested in Lissa and her magic domain in some manner. I axe because I see strong similarities in Mirage and Scourge using sand as a basis for their magic, which was also in Guild Wars 1 with hexes. No, I don't know whether you're really onto anything there. I have no specific memories of a connection between the two, and I think what's tipped you off into looking to it as well is a bit suspect, to be honest. It's a bit off of the road to the farm. Why isn't Warbring in the wardrobe? Is it still not in the wardrobe, really? I don't know. I might be wrong, though. There could be something. I mean, if we're going to start getting a lot more information on Lissa, they've got ample opportunity to give us more connections between Lissa and Grenth and stuff. I think that would be fun. It'd be cool to hear of Lissa as the master manipulator, puppet master that, you know, orchestrated the downfall of Doom and the rise of Grenth for some reason. Can anyone tell me when Living Worlds Season 4 is expected to come out? Wondering how much time is left for the WP POF contest. Well, so I think that... what is it? It's Balance next week. And then I think we might have a week off. And like a gem store week or whatever. And then the week after that. So maybe 3 weeks from now, you might find an announcement. And that announcement will either be a raid wing, a Living World release, or a double release of both. I don't know, though. Apparently, there's been more leaking with the wing, though, and I'm totally out of the loop with so much stuff, so I don't know how good of an answer that really is for you. You know, I'm just realizing that the adventure here was probably one of the hardest ones in all of POF. Genuinely. Roro says, I think the raid wing is going to be on the 14th. So if we're guessing the 14th, whether that's a leak-influenced opinion or not, I don't know. That would mean Balance next week and a raid preview next week for a wing on the 14th. I mean, the other thing I can understand about this wing being delayed is if they're doing... If a lot of the design is trying to factor in the new elite specializations to give their strengths purpose, right? And if a lot of the design of the new wing is to add more roles and distinct stuff so that, you know, to make the meta and the variety of gameplay we experience a bit more healthy, right? If it's really trying to be mindful of a lot of that stuff, which I think it should be, as I've always said, I think that the meta is dictated and nurtured not just by the balance team, but by the raid team too, and the kind of content they actually put in there, and the kind of builds and roles that excel there. It's both of their jobs. So if the raid team has been doing that, I can imagine that this wing might have taken longer because it's got to be kind of precariously sort of created with the new elite specializations in mind and what they're strong at, and, you know, try to account for their strengths and stuff, which could be quite unwieldy and difficult to do and take time. And that's why they do it after Path of Fire releases, because they want to see how the elite specializations settle down after their initial balance and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, but maybe that's some part of it. I don't know, because the fact that I haven't seen any raid leaks as well makes me feel like maybe everything I'm saying is ridiculous and totally out of the loop. Not sure if you already answered, just got here, but what do you think will come at this balance patch? I don't know, man. I don't really care too much either. What kind of surprises me how nonchalant both Lissa and Grenth seem to be about leaving Tyria to survive on its own, as hinted at in Cormier's journal. As a Tyrian-born god, Grenth should have tried to keep in contact via avatars or some stuff. Well, yeah, and what's amazing is to look at the end of the personal story and the Reaper and his dialogue. I've been meaning to look back at that, who speaks to us from back then. But I don't know, it was a long time ago since Grenth ascended and rose. I don't know. I've got to do a video on that stuff. Listen, I'm done wandering around, guys. We've been streaming for ages. It's been over 10 hours of the stream. Whoa! So if anyone's got any final thoughts they just want to quickly chat about before I turn this off, please do let me know, and we'll have a quick little riff-raff. But yeah, I think that will probably be it for today. I will try and find out what exactly that last event is so we can fly into it on tomorrow's stream and do some other fun stuff, keep working on these collections and things. When is my submission to the competition relating to my brother or something going to happen? Great question. I was thinking of contacting him 2 weeks ago, but I haven't got around to it. So I hope to do it still. I might not in the end. I would like to still do it. We will see. It depends. He's a very busy man. Can we get an ASMR outro? ASMR outro. No, listen, the ASMR is for the very low number of people who are here right at the start of the stream. So, guys, if you want a treat, if you want a sweet ASMR treat at the start of a stream, then maybe what you should do is keep this tab open forever, in perpetuity, and give me those sweet, sweet early views. And then there you go. So yeah, host Extra Life. So where is ArenaNet streaming? On Extra Life? Let me check this here. Twitch Extra Life charity. Extra Life for kids? Extra Life game. Watch streams on Twitch. Game Informer, Giant Bomb, Guild Wars 2. They are streaming. They're just not in the Guild Wars 2 section. Yeah, and we can massively bump their views. So we're going to host Guild Wars 2 and see how they go. I'm going to be in chat watching this. I haven't seen any of their Extra Life stream. I've got actually no idea what it's like or what they're talking about. So we'll go see what ArenaNet are up to. This is weird. I think this is the first time I've ever hosted ArenaNet. Christ. I feel a bit bad. I'd rather put it on someone small in the scene, I guess. But we will see. So I'll be there watching with you guys, drinking some nice, fresh new coffee and all that fun stuff. Interesting chat today about WoW and stuff. If you guys have got further comments or thoughts, don't be scared to send me a message on Discord or Reddit or even as a PM here on Twitch. I am curious about your opinions on that and what you think. And look at that. We get attacked in the background. That's pretty fitting for this stream, isn't it? So yeah. So MOX, when are you getting it? Getting what? So when am I getting MOX? Do you mean the chatbot? Yeah, Guild Wars 2's channel is lower viewership than us. Yeah, so it'll be nice. It's not like, you know, it's totally wasted. Let's see how many people we can get to stick about. I've got no idea what this will be. So let's go have some fun, guys. And I will see you all very soon.